control your emotions and allow your feelings. Control your emotions and allow your feelings. You say, yeah, but they're the same thing. No. See, distinctions are very, very important. And it's not a blanc, like this is all this and this is all this and they're all the same. Just like you could see, you could see the ice on the lake and the water. Well, you know that the ice and the water are the same and different. That means the water's liquid here, and water makes up the ice, but the ice is frozen. There's a distinction. There's a difference, you see? These distinctions. You want to know the distinction between feeling and emotion. And what I got from the study of the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, which is very excellent, and it always depends on who interprets it too. So that's why, you can study a lot of things and you find out what resonates. It gives you the greatest inner pleasure. And that's how you can know, because we are pleasure seekers. And because our nature is pleasure, we are the divine pleasure of God, of the source of all that is. And that's why we're pleasure seekers, because we're seeking to experience who we are. But we think we're trying to experience something outside, some inanimate object of some kind that's going to help us feel good. So emotions are thought and event related, because a thought like I'll die can make a person scared. I remember when I was little, I said, Mama, when I leave, will I have a pillow in the coffin? She said, yeah. Oh, I said, okay, because I could be sleeping or resting. No, but this is all this theatrical drama where we're participating in a birth-death reality. We're participating, but we're beyond birth and death. You're an eternal being. Birth and death doesn't exist. You always have been, always will be, because eternity is your nature. Well, feeling is your nature. I got in the Bhagavad Gita saying that Satchit Ananda in Sanskrit means eternity, consciousness, bliss, the nature of a soul. And that's just some of the qualities and natures of a spirit soul, a soul that you are. And these are also labels, so you're beyond label and definition. And yet feelings of compassion, love, generosity, joy, ecstatic bliss, love, and all of its dimensions and reality are so beautiful, and they have very subtle differences that we savor as nectar buzzards. You might seeking pleasure. Well, many people say they get that from the pleasure, say, of the tongue, where you taste this, you taste that, you taste some as yuck, you don't want it, some you like it, some hits this and that. Okay, so taste is also part of the digestion. Emotions are always reacting. They said, he said. You like, you don't like, up, down, health, everything, the day. If it's raining, it's sunning, it's this, it's that, if there's that, blah, blah, and the emotions are going. And what happens is emotions are powerful. Because love is powerful, because the heart generator, where you hold sway with the divine, they say like two birds on a bush, that the divine God within is looking at us, waiting for us to turn around and have a relationship. And we are looking on the outside, trying to find only that which we can get from who we are, which is activating our true divine self. So this, the distinction in the feeling and the emotions are destructive in a sense, because they're thought generated, and they're generated from a reaction to something or someone going on in the exterior outer world, including your physical body. So people are being jerked around emotionally all the time. And there's why people cry. Crying is a wonderful thing if it's crying from love and joy, but there's a lot of cry from self-pity, from I've been hurt, I've been harmed. One of the things that you want to look at is who you are has never been harmed or hurt, because you are a divine being. You're not the mind and you're not the body. So all the pain and suffering is generated through the mind. And also you have then the physical pain or suffering, but it also gets interpreted through the mind. That's why then they can turn off different feelings in the body when they know where that feeling comes from. So if a person has a pain and they're going to have, some operation on that body or something, you don't want to feel it while you're there. So that turns off that switch that then gives a feedback that there's pain or something so that you could do something about it. It's kind of like a protection kind of a thing. But what we do is we use the pain and the suffering of these emotions as some way of protection. But see, if people can get their emotions of hatred generating, they want to hate and kill somebody, or some animal, or they get a joy out of seeing the suffering of someone or some animal. That's because usually they've been tortured somehow as a child or at some point in their lives, and it takes them off their track. So you see how people have certain predominant emotions, and then they use also those emotions to control and dominate other people, to manipulate them. And then because we're all intuitive, we're already psychic and very sensitive, but at times we have closed off oftentimes those feelings, so we don't pick it up and feel it as much, but it's there. It's a very overwhelming thing, and it's all about the emotions. And actually, manifestation is all about the feelings. That's an interesting. Feelings are heart generated. It's who we are. They're very loving, inspiring, feel good, joyful. It's contagious. Everybody's feeling good. It's like, I think about my daughter Suzanne, who had left her body and gone to the spiritual world a while back, but when she came into the room, she just lit up the room with her beauty and her love and her joyful being of herself, you see. And that's how you want to be. It's just when your own being, if you're in your center as yourself, you're always in enjoyment because you're enjoying yourself, and you're also enjoying the selves of others because you're picking up on who they are. And like in nature here, everybody here, the trees and the plants, the water, they all have integrity. There's a feeling here, you see. There's a feeling. And you can also use those feelings and emotions. Like if you're somewhere and you're starting to get these weird emotions, you could be picking them up from someone else, or it's a situation that you have a judgment on that you use to hurt yourself, or you sense what's going on. So you want to be in tune with those emotions and in tune with your feelings. And negative emotion, let's call negative emotions, are fear-based, terror-based, pain-based kinds of emotions. They turn off the immune system. And that's why hatred brings hatred. And it's already, when you hate someone, you're hurting yourself right then already. And getting us to hate. And who we hate is who we fear. So if you fear anything, you hate it because you fear it. And you have given it its power because it doesn't have any power unless you give it to it, because you're a power giver. That's who you are. So this is to know the distinction between feelings and emotions. And emotions are very heavy, while also feelings being, say, that when you have a state of beingness or consciousness of pure knowing of the divine. And see, that's what I work on, so that when someone calls me for a mentoring or counseling session, or someone where I work with, my job is to make sure that I'm ready in consciousness, so that it opens that space for the other person. I don't judge them or criticize or condemn them in any way, because that's not what I do. But to create a space, opportunity for that person to step into knowing that they're loved unconditionally,